Feisworld Media, and I am really thrilled to be joined by Jessica Li Pang and also Jenny Lisk. And as you can see, I do highly encourage you to check out, Jess's YouTube channel as well as Jenny's new book, futurewidowbook.com. She also has a lovely podcast. And we are here to basically have a live discussion. This is something that we do on a regular basis. In fact, for years, every other week. Lately, we've been chatting about once a month. So this is really precious time for us to put this forward. If you guys have any questions, there's absolutely no stress. Just leave it in the chat box anywhere you are, and we will answer them for you. So, with that said, do you guys mind introducing yourself really quickly to our audience? Thank you.
Sure. Who do you want to go first?
Jenny, please. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All right. My name is Jenny Lisk, and I'm in Seattle, Washington, and I run a podcast for widowed parents. It's called the Widowed Parent Podcast. And I have a new book out this year called Future Widow. And as Faye said, the URL's on my name there. And also I do consulting with authors on publishing their books.
Sweet.
Publishing and marketing, I should say.
Yeah, that's lovely. We're gonna dive in about your business setup there. I think it's really brilliant. It's such a natural progression of who you are, podcaster, writing a book, and into consulting. And I can see that and speaking and evolve into the near future as well. But what about you, Jessica?
Hi, my name is Jessica Pang, and I do a lot of different things, which is what can make my social media accounts a little bit interesting. But so I'm a UI UX designer. I've been doing that for the past 10 years. In addition to that, my YouTube channel is all about gaming. So I do play games, and through that, I learn a lot about UI and UX and how I can apply them to other things in like the more kind of corporate setting in my day job. So that's what my gaming channel is about. And I'm hoping to start a new YouTube channel for design related things called Unapologetic Design, where people can learn to be unapologetically themselves through design through their whole entire career and what that looks like. So it'll be all about mentorship. It'll be about what my experience is as a woman of color in the tech industry and how that's been for me for the past decade.
Super cool. And we're gonna Jenny, what's up?
Faye, I was going to say, I know this is your channel, but there may be some people here who haven't heard about your background. Kate, you want to introduce yourself as well?
Oh, thank you for asking. In fact, a lot of people don't know who I am or what I do. So, so I started, my name is Faye Wu, and I run feisworld.com as seen in the URL in my signature or name here. And I run a YouTube channel that has been my primary focus and has driven somewhat significant revenue as well. And fancy angle changes there, Jess. And so I started my business in 2016, left my full-time job, went cold turkey, even though 2 years prior to that, I started my podcast. So I had leads related to my business, but frankly, I didn't quite know where everything was going to go. There was no real safety net there. And really never looked back. Business just kind of, there's, kind of ebb and flowed. But in general, I feel really lucky to have done that earlier on. And as a result, I ended up creating a lot of tutorials, some related to Zoom, to YouTube, podcasting, and running your business, as well as this 30-day live. That's my primary focus since 2020, to teach people how to bring their ideas forward, how to build a successful business online, including, digital, including consulting, digital products, online courses, all that jazz. So yeah, really thrilled to be doing that.
Cool. And we should say we have a couple other group members as well who weren't able to join us today, but we do have a great group every other Saturday. So thank you for pulling us all together.
Oh, you're very welcome. I do want to give them a shout out because Stephen Thompson, who's an educator, a podcaster, an author, he's preparing some tests right now, unable to join us. Same with Tammy Gooler Loeb, who's traveling at the moment and who's also author, speaker, podcaster. We started this journey. I feel like we're really in this little creative hub together since 2017. It is so special to see how we've all grown into our current roles, and we're continue to kind of transition, transform. And I hope that when maybe we bring a bigger group back together, I hope Michael O'Brien will join us as well, maybe in a January live stream session, and we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So I would love to take a moment for you guys to kind of reflect on maybe this past year in 2021. If some memories kind of get triggered from 2020, that's totally fine too. But some of the things, observations you've learned about yourself and maybe about your business. We'll start with whoever take any order, turns you see fit.
Jess, do you want to go?
Sure. My tendency is to always like talk. So I one of the things that I'm learning about myself this year is there's that whole saying where, you have 2 ears and one mouth for a reason. You should listen twice as much as you speak. So I definitely am learning this year to listen and to be an active listener. And I've found that there's a lot of people with a lot of things to share, and they may not be the most extrovert. They may not be very confident quite yet. And so giving space and a safe space for people to have that opportunity and listen to those that may have otherwise maybe not have spoken up, because sometimes I can be a little bit of like a little extrovert presence in the room. I'm so excited to like tell everybody everything. But I think in general, more than ever, in regards to like content creation, consistency is hard. Like in general in life, consistency is hard, and I think that there's just always this need to have this push to keep creating content and to really like play to the algorithm. And I'm going to be a broken record, like with a lot of other influencers. You can't let it get to you. Like mental health is very important, and if you're not feeling your best, then it's okay to take a break. And that's one of the things that I've been learning, really trying to pace myself and understand where my boundaries are, and where's the magic sweet spot for content creation.
Love what you said there. Yeah. What do you think, Jenny?
Well, this year for me has been probably number one about launching my book. I gotta hold it up here because it's just so exciting. And I've got the hardcover version now. See, so it's got like dust jacket and everything. But so I spent last year, finishing the writing and preparing for publication. And so this year has been all about marketing. And so learning, right, and thinking about strategic ways to get the word out, to reach my audience. And Jess was talking about content creation. That's been something I've been trying to think about too, especially in terms of how to be smarter about content creation. So like, I've got a whole book here of 50,000 words of content. How can I use pieces of that, in social media or in videos, or, there are some standalone pieces that could become the basis of a post or even an article, right? So how can I, I think for when I was first getting started as a content creator, I felt like every single piece of content had to be freshly created. But I was losing they say if you post something once on a social media channel and only a small percentage of your audience sees it, right? So I've been trying to get better about like posting things across channels, and I finally set up a queue with a scheduling tool, right? Where because I've got over 100 episodes of my podcast now, and I've got a whole bunch of written pieces, and I've got a whole bunch of quote cards that I pulled of reviews from my book. I'm like, I have a lot of content here. I need to get more strategic and smarter about using that content and to reach to reach out to more people with my message and all that. So I finally set up the social media scheduling tool, and I'm kind of liking it to the crock pot. I don't know if you've ever you fixed dinner, but like before you leave in the morning, you do something in the crock pot, and then you come home and you're like, wow, who cooked dinner for me? Right? Well, it's like that. I spent a bunch of time. I picked the right tool. I thought about my content. I set it up. And then I'm like, wow, who's been posting on social media for me? Right? It's like the crock pot is posting on social media for me. And it's great because I'm getting, content that I'm not having to every single time sit down and take time away from something else critical, right? And of course, I'm posting, fresh stuff too, but it kind of supplements it because I realize that I do have a lot of good content that is evergreen.
What tool you mentioned with social media publishing? What are you using?
So I started using Sendable.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the reason that I picked it, what I really liked about it
Mhm,
was that it's got this little creation, like a box, like you said, kind of create a new post or a new tweet or
mhm,
whatever. And so you can kind of type out or paste in your main thing you want to say, but then you pick the channels you want it to go to, and it gets a little tab for each
mhm,
one. And so then
mhm,
you can just go and you can go to the, Instagram one and add some hashtags, or go to the LinkedIn one and take out all the emojis that you used on your Instagram one, right? And so you can kind of just tweak each one without having to like do it from scratch. And so that I thought was a really nice feature. And I was really, because I looked at Hootsuite too, because I know a lot of people really like that one, and they didn't have that feature, and I was really surprised.
mhm.
It seems like a really handy tool.
Yeah.
So Faye, I see you put a link in there. Do you use Sendable as well?
Yeah, actually, I think we talked about Sendable. What's really special, I included a link. That is an affiliate link, by the way. I love the company. It's actually a British company. And the
Hmm.
reason why I discovered them was because I was previously paying and using Agora Pulse, which was really good too. But the price just jumped up to, I think, $80 a month, which,
Oh
by the way,
wow.
I'm being very very honest here. It does every little bit really adds up for a content creator over time.
Hmm.
And what I also love about Sendable is the feature to basically repurpose your content and be able to reschedule the same piece of content be published at different times. And that is very
Right.
powerful.
Right. Yeah, they've got queues, and I hadn't really ever. I'd heard of people using tools like this, right?
Mhm,
And people had told me, "Oh, you need to do that," but I never really had put it on my list to dig into, right?
mhm,
So once I started looking, and the queue feature is awesome, right? And you can pick the
mhm,
times of day. There's even a thing where you can pick like I want to post this on Tuesday, and
mhm,
tell me what the optimal time would be, and
mhm.
it suggests a certain time. You can
Yeah.
change it, of course, if you have a specific time you want, but I think that's a handy feature. But I really like this option to tweak the message by platform, because you really,
Yeah.
you don't necessarily want to post exactly the same thing, right?
Mhm,
On each channel. I mean, there can be a lot of similar things, but like, for example, the emojis, like Instagram,
mhm,
you got a lot of
mhm,
emojis, right? And got my cute little whatever. But on LinkedIn, I'm like, maybe one smiley face, but like cut the rest of the emojis.
mhm. Yeah, you wanna tailor same or similar messages based on the platform anyway. How people interact with, Twitter or on Twitter is drastically different than LinkedIn and elsewhere. So
Well, and the Twitter one has to be shortened, of course.
yeah, exactly. So that reminds me of a question that I like to talk about, which is getting help. It's one thing for you to curate and everything, but just out of curiosity for you, Jess and Jenny, how have you ever seeked out help for managing your social media or doing any part of your running any part of your business? Like, what are your thoughts on that? We'll start with maybe Jess.
Sure. In terms of finding help for my social media, I haven't really been. I'm not at a point currently
Hmm.
to start hiring somebody else to do things for my channel.
Hmm.
Um, I think that right now it's more of still so much of a solo show,
Hmm.
and I think in terms of finding help, well, I mean, that's the whole thing with Faye. And like, I'll never forget when I first met Faye on Facebook, and she wrote this blurb about what it meant to be a content, or a creative entrepreneur back then.
Hmm.
And I was just like, wow, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to know what that is and learn what that is. And I think that was one of the things that I did to really help me still pursue this, even though because it's really hard when you're this solo content creator. And I'm in Boston primarily. Right now I'm in Seattle, but in either case, I haven't really met a bunch of content creators. In LA, they're, I think, a dime a dozen. But when you have a community, I think that's when you can really feel like you can accomplish a lot more, and people can hold you accountable. So I think for me, that was my way of finding help, trying to seek others like me, so that we can kind of commiserate and share resources and support one another.
I like that. I just want to comment briefly the fact that a lot of content creators, when they first getting started, they have trouble even calling themselves creators. They're like, "Ah, it's just a hobby. I'm not, look, I'm not trying to make." You hear this all the time. I'm not trying to make money from it, and I used to say that too. And
Yeah.
and also you're thinking like, "Oh, until I make the first penny." No, no, until I make the first $1,000, $2,000 purely from my creative work, I don't deserve to get help. I don't want. I'm not saying that's you, Jess, but a lot of people are trying to negotiate with themselves to see like at what point does it make sense for me to hire help, and because only fancy people can get help and that costs thousands of dollars, and we can debunk that because none of that is actually true. But it's also true at the beginning. For me, it's about experimenting what this is like. So you're at a point where a lot of people really resonate with what you just said. But what you also pointed out in terms of community, that's huge. Even though that's not so much as getting help as in, Faye, could you write this blog post for me? Jenny, could you write part of that book for me? It's not so much about that. It's about being in the same hub together and feeling supported and feeling understood. So thank you for sharing that. Jenny, thoughts on getting help?
Well,
Support?
it's funny that you mentioned this. And this may need to be something that you guys can help me brainstorm in the next session or some other time. I put on my list to brainstorm a list of things a VA might be able to help me with. Because I know I have too many things on my plate, and I know many people use a VA. Faye, I know you do. Other people, I know, or, and so theoretically they could help. But, I put on my list to brainstorm things, and then even that task got deferred, right? Because other things came up. But I'm really struggling with, I'm not sure if they could help me with social media exactly, because so most of my social media content is around grief and widowed parenting, and a lot of it is telling my story, right? And so they can't tell my story, right? If my post is a quote from my book, and I'm going to write a reflection that's related to that quote of something and share something, it's a personal sharing. I can't really delegate that. And if I tried to tell them what to write, it would take me just as long to tell them, right? And so I struggle with that part. And I also, part of social media for me is building relationships with listeners or readers or other professionals or other widowed parents. And if somebody, I can have somebody interacting as me with them, that doesn't really do anything. So and so that's why for me, using the Sendable tool, scheduling tool, I'm like, okay. And I think I'm paying like $26 a month or something for whatever plan I'm on. I'm like, so that is an expense that I'm like, this will help me. Right. This is, step one in saving time by getting help, quote unquote. In this case, it's AI kind of help, or not AI exactly, but it's like a technical solution that will help me. Right. And so along those lines, I've been exploring using Zapier more. Right. Like, are there things that I can automate? Even if, and so far I'm still on the free Zapier plan, because I think you can do like a couple of things. You set up like a certain number of automations for free, but if you want more, then you have to pay. So I'm thinking, well, all right, at some point it's going to be worth it for me to pay for their paid plan if that helps me automate things that then saves time in my day, or offloads things, right, to a technological solution. I mean, I'm already using things like a scheduling tool, right? Like I use Schedule Once, which is, I can't believe how many, like I try to get on other people's podcasts, and how many times, and they're like, okay, well, can you do Tuesday? Or tell me, give me some times. And I'm like, oh my God, really? Can't you just give me a scheduling tool where I can pick a time? Right. So that kind of stuff, I'm trying to embrace that kind of quote unquote help, which isn't, an assistant, but it is ways of offloading work onto other things. And, along these lines, I did experiment. I needed to research a bunch of podcasts to pitch to be on, right? And I know I can do that myself. It's not hard, but I knew it would take me a lot of time. And somewhere I came across a guy on Fiverr that, and he's got you can have him give you a list of 10 shows or 25 shows or 100 shows, for different price points. So I'm like, 100 shows, I think it was like $70. I'm like, that is $70 well spent. So I did a thoughtful, these are the types of shows I want to be on,
Mhm.
and give him some good criteria, and then send him off to go. And so this is like a one-off kind of thing, but it is actually, one of the reasons I wanted to do it was to experiment with having somebody help me.
Mm.
In a different, in this case, a one-off kind of help as opposed to an ongoing thing. But this was something I'm like, I can delegate that. I don't need to spend a bunch of hours compiling a spreadsheet of 100 shows when
Mhm.
I can, throw money at this guy on Fiverr and have him do it.
I think when it comes to delegations in general, we as creators, we have different personalities, and slightly or very different belief systems. For me, for instance, like the way I look at all the things that I'm doing is I have to conduct the outreach. If I want to reach out to someone I really want to put on my show, I always do that
Mm.
by myself. I want every word to be written by me. And it's funny, and I'm not sure how you guys feel about it because a lot of podcasters actually outsource that element of it. I want not only for it to sound like me, I want it to be me. And the
Mm.
other that I do, right, is a negotiation with brands, brand deals. When a brand finally reaches out, or especially a very qualified one, I mean, the ones that are obviously spams, I filter that through. Nobody needs to like ask me questions. Do you think this spam? Yeah, it is. So, you know, for me to respond back to that, to be able to negotiate how much, I want to you chat about it, and so that's completely up to me. So and that's just me. I think for us to look at the long list of things and make that decision is really important. And if you find yourself trying to say yes to everything, probably means that that's inaccurate. That's probably too much for you to do. Yeah, and yeah, Jess, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so one thing that's interesting, and I think it depends on where you want to take this channel, your channels, how you want to present yourself on social media, if you want to remain an individual or expand to an entity in some sorts. So I call it the you factor, right? So it's what makes your channel you, uniquely you, your voice, your tone, kind of what you're saying, Jenny. And I think it's true that in some ways only we can really understand what that is on a fundamental level. But one case study I want to bring in is that I have this amazing dance instructor. His name is Chris Harlem for Dance Sassy. And so a long time ago, he's been doing this for probably over 7 years, I think. And he was a whole just solo show. He was like, this is me. This is, it's just me. I don't know if I can really trust anybody else. And then, here I come along and then I'm just like, oh, I got a camera. Let me film class for you. And then it went from me doing that to now he's had like 4 or 5, we're called teaching assistants, but we do a myriad of things. So there's something to be said about, even though like it can be difficult to offload some of that you factor of like your perspective, more often than not, there are people who just love what you do the way that you love it, and they'll have the passion in that. So I do agree that some other more menial type of tasks, you can go to Fiverr for that, super easy. But there is a thought of having this community. So now that he has found his pool of community who love dance the way he loves it, who love him and his energy, and who want to support that and understand that on a fundamental level, we take over for a lot of his social media. We take over, and he does pay this other company in Indonesia to push out this whole schedule of different varying types of posts on all over his social media. However, I come in and I extend the you factor and I say, hey, this tone of voice, not quite it, because those people aren't a part of the community. But me being a part of the community, I'm just like, I'm passionate about this. I know his tone of voice. This isn't quite it. Let me tweak it. And so together with that, we're able to expand and divide the work. And so he can focus on what he's so great at, creating choreography that people love, having this beautiful energy that lights up a room and infects people in the most lovely, amazing way. And so when thinking about whether or not you can or want to expand that you factor to a community of people, look towards a community, build that community. And then all of a sudden, that one touch point you have, because we are ultimately the bottleneck, has opened up. and we can start affecting the lives of many other people. But that's just one perspective, no right or wrong. It's really just where you want to take your brand and where you want to go.
Yeah.
Faye, what are some ways that you think you use assistance or think other people could, based on things you've learned?
Yeah, for sure. First of all, I've had such great luck on Upwork.com. I cannot even praise that enough. So I'm gonna just drop a quick link. So I would say that exactly like Jess said, now I have 3 people working with me. Herman, these people work with me on a regular basis, as opposed to my documentary film crew. I adore them to pieces. They're not like with me in this moment. They were specific to that project. So Herman, Anna, Rose. Herman is my strategist, editor, my soulmate. I mean, literally, it's crazy because you find these people and then you love them and they love you. They love your work. So now there's an extension of your work, people who get it and people who love it. And in a way that make the brand so much better. They see things that I don't see myself. And Anna is my content manager who really not only helps me offload the Feisworld work, I also have this, sort of this wing of client work. I love and adore my clients. I choose them, they choose me, but there are a lot of things that are not entirely passive. In fact, it's very, very active work. And Anna has really been able to offload stuff there. And I can get into the specifics because recently we as a team revisited the system to say, how can we be more efficient? So Rose is based in the Philippines and she helps really manage the social share part of it. So after, let's say, Herman edited the content, so I produce, I ideate, I'm the camera, I'm in front of the camera. Herman then edits everything and is very familiar with what I'm trying to do because he ideates and strategizes with me, as opposed to me just pushing this thing over. Is like, good luck with this Dropbox link. And Anna, on the other hand, really helps me write really high quality content, helps me upload all my videos, including title, keyword research, thumbnail design. So I don't have to worry about that. Everything's on schedule and done. And then Rose can take everything that's been produced and be able to repurpose and reshare without having to write everything from scratch. And I think I've tried to put people in a position where they thrive the most. And I always have conversations. Maybe we can talk about that too, is I have conversations with people to understand who they are as people. They're not an assistant. They're not a human resource. To me, they're people. I focus on what they want to learn, what they're good at, and I repeat that conversation so I know that how they want to grow, how else they want to grow with my brand. If Feisworld no longer serves them, they want to go elsewhere, I'm fully supportive of that too, which hasn't happened yet. So those are some learnings.
Cool. Yeah, I got to think about this topic some more. I feel like, I think somebody mentioned drowning. Sometimes I feel like I am, right? I got so many things that I want to do, so many ideas, so many initiatives, balls in the air, right? But figuring out which parts to hand off is tricky.
Mm-hmm. You need good people. And Jess, I know that you work in a startup environment. That's very, very telling. And you've obviously worked in more than one company too. So the dynamics is really important. And I've certainly worked with people that didn't work out so well, and not really for the reasons that we often think, as in, oh, is this person not intelligent enough? Oh, is this person not really highly technical, not good at what they're doing? Maybe some percentage of that, but I gotta say the number one quality that I often find is, yeah, passion aside and all that, you have to be reliable. You have to deliver what you promise to deliver. And if you can't, I need to know, right? Like I am someone who's like, if you can't make it, if you can't publish at this time, I just need to know and I will jump on it. So having that level of trust and reliability is really critical, right? Otherwise, it actually creates more work for you as the creator instead of getting help to offload anything. Yeah, Jess, what have you seen in environments that you've been in, or like even in the dance studio? It's the same thing. The instructor doesn't show up, then you got 30 students standing there waiting, right?
Yeah, showing up is the best thing that you can do for others and yourself. Showing up for yourself, I think overall is one of the hardest things to do, but one of the most important things. And it's amazing what showing up will do, that reliability factor. Luckily, I haven't had too many instructors that weren't consistent. In the workplace, I've seen very many things. I kid you not. There are people who have lied about having a heart attack. There
Mhm.
are people who just disappear for a few weeks.
Mhm.
And then you're just like, and this is not even just at the startup. This is actually at a company that, you know, makes several $1,000,000 in revenue. And, you know, we all signed the contract, and it's pretty crazy and it's pretty wild. And I have to wonder what goes on in their head when they do that. People who have lied about climbing Mount Everest more than once. Um, yeah, that it was a public meeting of people who have lied about running 5Ks in like an impossible amount of time. The stories I have are pretty wild. And so if you think that you're a person that, you know, doesn't show up for people, or you doubt any of that, um, listen to any of the stories I just said and ask yourself if you've done any of those things, because it's crazy, but it's more often than not what we're faced with.
Mhm.
Finding good people, reliable people is a lot harder than
Mhm.
we think. And when we find them, like, you know, shout out to all of my mentees and for showing up every week, or, you know, every other week whenever we schedule these things, for showing up and being ready and being just open,
Mhm.
and for bearing with me in the moments where, you know, things aren't going well because of what's happened in the past few years.
Mhm.
So yeah, reliability, huge factor. Skills you can learn. You don't have to go to school. Like, you just got to show up. I started dancing 6 years ago. I couldn't really dance. I didn't have this goal to get good at dance. I just kept going. I went, and then 1 hour became 2, became 3, became 4, became 20. And then all of a sudden now I'm on teams with people who uh, are on professional dance teams, and they're looking at me like, you know, yeah, you belong here. And so showing up, even when the goal isn't I'm going to get good, just show up.
Yeah.
And it's okay if it's not like you're having the best day.
Mhm.
Just show up.
Mm. They're very true, very telling. I love the message there. And Jenny, I want to pitch that question back to you about the part about not just showing up for others. Please do. It makes a world of difference. But showing up for yourself is sometimes really hard. And obviously, through your books, through knowing you, I think we know that you've lived through a fair amount of challenges in life, and you're raising two young kids by yourself. And could you maybe talk to us about that, about showing up for yourself or your work, as opposed to showing up for everybody else, which is the tendency, unfortunately, a lot of women are focusing on always putting themselves last.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think in terms of my work, I think I just feel so passionate that, that like being a widowed parent is hard. And if I can share my experience, and if I can, through the podcast, right, I interview people who can help with information, ideas, inspiration. And I just, I really felt strongly like there's a gap here and I can do something about this. And so I should.
Mm.
Um, and so it's that, kind of motivation, I guess, that keeps me going. And, it's hard, right? Though, like the podcast has been going for 3 years now. So there have been so many times when I'm like, why am I doing this
Mhm.
anyway? Like, really? Like,
I
I don't know,
know.
is
Me too.
anybody listening? Is
Mm.
anybody getting anything out of it? Is it
Mhm.
blah, 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 right? And what I've done, actually, I don't know if I have it here. I printed out some, like I copy pasted, because I hear from listeners, whether it's a review on iTunes or whether they email me directly or a comment on Instagram. And the best ones, the people that have said, wow, your podcast has really made a difference, or
Mhm.
your book, I read it and I learned X, and here's why it's made a difference to me. I've collected a few of those and like put them in a Word document and printed it, and then I laminated it
Mhm.
and I put it next to my desk. I think it moved here because I rearranged a few things. And when I would say, why am I doing this podcast anyway? I'd pull it out and read the comments and be like,
Mm.
okay, yeah, that's
Mm.
why I'm doing it, right? And then, okay, keep going. Uh,
Mm.
so that's, that's important. And I think, as far as like showing up for yourself, one of the things I've been trying to do is get more sleep. Actually, early in the pandemic, I started doing this. I just said before we had vaccines, before we had, it was early on, and everything felt super risky all the time, going to the grocery store, right? And I was like, you know what? There's not a lot I can do, but I can make sure that I get some extra sleep, because is that going to keep me from getting sick? Not necessarily, but it might make a difference at some point. Like my body is stronger and more rested instead of weaker and tireder. That's got to be, it can't be bad, right? And it might end up helping me. And so I made a deliberate choice to try to start catching up on some sleep deficits. And I think that's been really helpful.
I love sleep. Truly, I'm a grown woman, yet for me, 8 hours of sleep makes a huge difference, and I can feel that in my body, in my psyche. I mean, it just, frankly, exactly like you said, if I don't, I know some people are unable to. I have friends who have really severe insomnia, so I know it's not a given. But I realize that I'm lucky enough to be able to sleep. I want to just find ways for myself to rest more and to really sleep in, and that makes a huge difference in content creation. And and it doesn't matter what kind of makeup you put on, if you're exhausted, you're utterly just burnt out, it doesn't work.
Yeah, everything is easier when if you're not sleep deprived. Even like the last couple of days here, I got a tetanus shot a couple of days ago because it was time for another tetanus shot. And what I remembered about a tetanus shot was your arm would be sore, so I was prepared for that. But I didn't realize I had to Google the side effects, because I actually felt just kind of crappy, like just like kind of achy and kind of tired. And I was like, geez, am I getting sick? Like, oh no, right? But then I Googled, I was like, maybe it was the tetanus shot. And sure enough, it was that. And so, but point being, if you're just feeling kind of lousy, I didn't do my live streams the last couple of days because I just didn't feel, did I feel horrible? No. But it was like, your energy was reduced for not getting enough sleep, or in this case, tetanus shot side effects, right? It's just harder to, like you said, to create content if you're tired.
It's very true. Very true. I know that we have about, 5 to 10 minutes left, and I want to talk about burnout real quick. That is a very popular topic and seems to be getting more popular. Jess already touched upon that briefly, but Jenny, before we forget, could you say a few things about your 12 days of Christmas and where people can watch that, or the remaining episodes you have lined up?
Yes. Tonight, I'm going to do day 12. No, excuse me. I'm sorry. 10. It was supposed to be day 12 today if I had done the last 2 days when I wasn't feeling well and skipped it. So I've got tonight, tomorrow, and the next night. And what I've been doing, I made up a parody words to the 12 Days of Christmas song, which are gift ideas, specifically gift ideas for grieving people in your life. But many of the gift ideas would apply to other people, to anybody. And so each day I'm building on it, right? Adding one. So the first day, on the first day of Christmas, my good friend sent to me a signed copy of Future Widow, right? And then on the second day of Christmas, et cetera, et cetera. And so I've added things. And so on all my social channels at Lisk Jenny, LiskJenny, live streaming each night with updates on that. So today,
What time?
Oh, whenever I feel like it.
Oh, there's no set time for live stream?
There's no set time. I'm just going with the flow. I guess sometimes you just got to roll with things. Depends on what time other things happen,
Yeah, true.
It's in the evening, but also, even these live streams, that the video gets saved to my feed anyway. Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. My
Very
Facebook
true.
personal page or my personal profile and my page both. I've been having trouble, and maybe you have a solution to this, getting it on Instagram. I know you can't connect this. Well, maybe there's some workaround, but I haven't been able to connect this into Instagram. But I used to be able to save the video and then upload it to IGTV as a just not live anymore, but still. And then the first 30 seconds or whatever goes on the feed. But I think they changed something because I haven't been able to do that.
IGTV is just probably no more, but I feel like it's somehow sort of in the past. And whereas the IG or Instagram Reels are getting more popular, that is more along the line of the 1 to 3 minute mark, or under 1 minute being the most popular, like YouTube Shorts and TikTok. So somehow the longer IGTV, like when I uploaded my full length videos, 10 minutes, nobody's watching that on Instagram. So they want you to scroll through more. But to answer your question, my most like rudimentary way of going live on I love Restream, which is what we're using right now. So I'm going live, Facebook groups, pages. One missing destination is Instagram. And during my 30-day live, I actually know there's a lot of people tuning in on Instagram. So all I do is I literally find this magnet thing on top of my computer. I just like literally snap it right there and I go live. And that works for a single person because through this microphone here, and I'm literally just using the native mic here, that works. The reason why the three of us are not on Instagram, that requires all of us to be wearing a headset or wearing the speaker, because then it will create this like echo chamber, kind of crazy
Okay, so
echo
you're
effect.
basically just setting up your phone next to your computer and you're kind of
That's
like
it.
manually going live in both places at the same time. I see.
Yeah.
I could
So
do that. I've got a tripod here. I could set it up next to
Totally.
the
So I think that's the easiest way. I done it before with Restream and a combination of Restream, Yellow Duck, and OBS. Yes.
Ooh.
I did that a little while back last year for the Dance Complex.
Mhm.
So we went live like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitch, and their Instagram with Yellow Duck. I don't know if
Mm.
that's still working. It might be deprecated. Who knows? Things change so fast.
Yellow
But
Duck and
yeah,
what else? Just Yellow Duck? OBS.
OBS. I was using OBS to connect to Restream. So I wasn't using
Ooh.
like the Restream Studio. I was using OBS Studio
Mhm.
and then using that in combination with Restream to multicast everywhere
Mhm.
that we needed to be at.
But
Mm.
Just
how
have
were
to
you getting it to Instagram? Because Restream doesn't hook directly to Instagram, does it?
with Yellow Duck, it is a possibility.
Oh, Yellow Duck. Okay.
It's a third
Mm.
party, but like I said, might be deprecated, might be Mac only. Have no idea. Just know that at the time it works.
Because
Ooh.
I was doing a bunch of live streaming like this time last year for Children's Grief Awareness Month. And I was doing it on all the other platforms, but then saving the video and uploading the video to Instagram. And it seemed fine. People were watching it, right? I mean, because on the profile, you got the first 30 seconds. And even if they didn't watch all of it, they saw part of it. But I tried within like this, on the desktop, I tried to upload the video to Instagram last week. And it actually said success posted. But then I'm going on Instagram and I'm looking all over for it and I can't find it. It's not on my profile. It's not under my videos. It's not like so I can't figure out if it actually got posted and it's hiding somewhere or like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think, but to Faye's point, like it is true that Instagram, like TikTok's the hot new chick on the block, and everyone wants to dress like her, like so, or them, and so yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing right now. YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, which go on to Facebook, those are being pushed out right now, as the rumors have it, by the algorithm gods. So I definitely think that you can still do that, but live wasn't even live on TikTok wasn't pushed as much now. The algorithm changed in like late November for TikTok. So the live wasn't as popular now as it was before. So it's
on
really
TikTok
like
or Instagram?
on TikTok,
Oh,
but
okay.
but Instagram as well. Like I feel like Instagram follows suit because everybody really is on that TikTok trend. If we look at the adoption like hyperbola or some graph of TikTok, like TikTok is that in that perfect stride of like, hey, it's still a little bit not as mainstream, but like it's really getting there soon. And then something else will come along and replace it. I do want to circle back to Faye's thing about burnout, because I will tell you I am the queen of burnout. Not proudly, but the first time I probably burned out was when I was 16. I went to a college prep school. I got pneumonia. I got pneumonia. I was having hallucinations because I had a fever of 105. I had to be wheeled to the airplane. I was leaving somewhere because the doctors didn't know that. They just said I had a cold. And that was wrong. I was in Vegas tripping with my 105-degree headache or fever. And yeah, they had to wheel me to the airplane because I couldn't walk. But shortly before that trip, school meant everything to me. It was the deciding factor of whether or not I'd be successful, which is this like myth that you believe a lot in elementary school and high school when you're put into a private school where everyone thinks and is probably and has been gone to Harvard, is going to Harvard, Ivy Leagues, all of that stuff. They got the extracurriculars. They've done like a bajillion hours of community service. They're like top of their class, XYZ. And that's when it hit me. I had been staying up over and over again, night after night after night, just sacrificing sleep, sacrificing health. And I really paid for it, and it sucked. And did that make me learn my lesson? Absolutely not. I have burned out a million times before, and I'm probably still like in the throes of doing that again, especially working in the startup kind of world. So in order to avoid burnout, it requires a lot of just self-awareness, because burnout happens and starts to happen way before I think you even really start to feel it, and way before I think you really start to understand it. I've been watching a lot of TikToks about like burnout and what kind of like some of the symptoms are. Yeah, TikTok's just like my therapy at this point. But
you're gonna burn out on TikTok. Oh.
I know. Oh no, I never burned out. I don't know. So that's a whole other thing. That's like you're being a disassociative. Like it's a dissociative experience and like a distraction that is kind of included in burnout. A pattern that you see. So a lot of it, I think, comes down to, like I said, just knowing yourself and really setting boundaries. Like, a lot of people who have first started their corporate jobs, like, never be more loyal to a company than it is to you. It is not your end all be all. I learned that the hard way. I was at a place where people said, "You're family," and that didn't work out for me very well. So yeah, like it's setting your boundaries and knowing that there will always be work to do, but what do you want out of this life? Where do you want to go? What's most important to you? Find those core and key values and really stick to them. It's not your responsibility to make other people feel comfortable at the sake and sacrifice of your mental health. I say this not because I'm good at it. I say this because I aspire to live it.
Yeah. I mean, Jenny, if you don't mind, I just want to add that, I was born into a family like who gave me everything I needed. Then my life kind of took a turn 180 when I went to live with my grandparents, and I became a complete people pleaser. It was something that I had to do, was the protection I needed. So a lot of my adult life still today, I try to kind of reverse that. And what you said last about like, it's not my job to make other people comfortable, make them do what they need to do, right? With there need to be boundaries. But I'll also say that during the pandemic, what I've learned the past year was I decided that like, oh, life is going really well. This is the best I've ever felt about my life, and I decided to sign up for therapy anyway. So, and I even said to my therapist, I don't know what to talk to you about. I feel like life is pretty good right now. He's like, and then I figure out, what, do we brush our teeth when our teeth are ready to fall out? Like, do we sleep because it's something that, we've done already yesterday? This is all part of maintenance. So whether it's therapy, meditation, I love meditating late at night before I go to sleep. I love using Insight Timer and finding that routine for yourself. Like Jess said, it's very important. Don't wait until you have 105-degree fever. Like kind of make it into your everyday. And if there's certain days that you're like, I did all this, I still don't feel my very best, that's okay. Like just breathe deeply, knowing that this is your natural body chemistry. Some days you're going to feel shitty. So that's my learnings. What about you, Jenny? How do you draw your boundaries and keep your wellness in check?
Oh, I don't know.
On that note, we're going to end the live stream. Just kidding.
Yeah, no, I probably I need to get more sleep tonight so I can answer this question better sometime.
Yeah. I like that. I think it just, It is really important. We just have to all find a way, just like how we find help to run our business, to find a way to keep that in check. But I want to thank everybody for joining me today and for watching wherever you are. I will monitor comments even after the show. So ask me any questions about this particular episode, this live stream, or any of the previous ones. If you have any questions about finding virtual assistants, I figure out a system happy to share with you, happy to refer you to people I trust and adore. So with that said, thank you, ladies, for joining me today. And I really hope to do this again in January. It's super fun. So with that said, I'm going to take us offline, but please, you guys don't go anywhere.
All right,
Bye,
sounds
guys.
good.
Bye,
Nice to see
social
you guys.
media.
Bye.